He's got 36 years experience, 16,000 hypnotherapy sessions.
What I found that the biggest issue isn't a mindset issue, it's an unconscious beliefs issue. It's faulty programming that we picked up in childhood that's actually the culprit, that's actually sabotaging our inner peace. That knot that I walked around with all the time in my stomach just kind of disappeared for a little while, as well as that feeling of impostor syndrome. It just went away. And I'm like, what is this? And so I just got obsessed with that. And now it's been 30 years and done thousands of sessions.
What do most people get wrong when it comes to handling their anxiety?
We think that if we work hard enough, we can outsmart it. It all comes down, though, to this core belief that I'm not enough. A lot of marketers end up quitting because they're afraid that I'm going to run out of money, I'm going to run out of time. It always keeps coming back to this fear of not being enough. And if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, then I don't even matter. When we upgrade those core beliefs, we pull the weed out at the root and we replace it with a flower, a more empowering belief. Then all of a sudden, the way you're playing the game changes. The truth will make you lighter. But most of us are not filled with truth. We're filled with fear.
I am ready right now to upgrade my mental software. Is there a daily practice? Give us what we need to do next. All right, welcome back to the Amazing Marketing Show, where we bring you everything that is amazing in marketing and business and life. And today is no exception because we have an incredible guest who, check this out, he upgrades your mental software. Yeah, you ever have the feeling like something's wrong with my brain and I know what I should be doing and I'm just not doing it? And I give the best advice to other people, but I just can't do it for myself. Well, this guy fixes that. And he's going to teach us how to apply it to marketing and to business and to life. This is incredible. He's written many books on this. I think 7 books, actually. The best-selling book, One Belief Away, was actually featured in a movie, Zero Limits. And I mean, there's people from all over the industry like Bob Proctor, Les Brown, John Asseroff. These are big guys. They work with him. He's got 36 years experience, 16,000 hypnotherapy sessions. I mean, what more do I need to say? This is incredible experience. We're lucky to have him on the show. Before I introduce him, though, my co-host, Chris Gray. Chris, what's going on?
Dimitri, what up?
I am living the dream and excited to introduce Tim Shurr. Tim, tell us about you.
Thank you so much, Dimitri and Chris. I appreciate being on your amazing show. So yeah, I had a goal of trying to figure out how to get rid of my anxiety. That's how I started out. And, I was full of worry and stress and fear and chasing approval and trying to get people to like me and always worried that some bad thing was going to happen because lots of bad things did happen. And so I ended up going to school for psychology to try to figure myself out. And a couple of years in, I was told that I had generalized anxiety disorder. And I'm like, well, how do I get general confidence in order? And he didn't really know. Just years of therapy. Okay. So then a hypnotist came to one of our classes to do a demonstration, and I volunteered. I thought I was going to just cluck like a chicken, but instead, that knot that I walked around with all the time in my stomach just kind of disappeared for a little while, as well as that feeling of impostor syndrome. It just went away. And I'm like, what is this? Right now, of course, the anxiety came back because I was good at doing anxiety. I thought it was happening to me. I didn't realize how much my mind was involved in that. And so I went in and learned how to use hypnosis, which opened the doors for NLP and all the other techniques or strategies that people said would help you feel confident and get rid of your bad habits and your inner blocks and help you to be as successful as you want to be. And so I just got obsessed with that. And now it's been 30 years and done thousands of sessions. And I've spent most of my adult life walking around in people's unconscious minds. And I'm excited today to share what I learned with you.
Tim, I share this experience with anxiety and the stuff that you were talking about, dealing with anxiety, imposter syndrome, all the things. My question to you is, what do most people get wrong when it comes to handling their anxiety?
So we think that if we work hard enough, we can outsmart it, right? We're trying to be logical. We're trying to be successful. We think that if we have enough money, then I'll feel at ease. which is not the case, because I have a lot of clients that are super achievers, millionaires, and they still have anxiety. Right. And so I remember that sitting by a pool one time, watching my kids play. My wife was making snacks. I'm watching the fountains, go in the pool. I had more money in the bank than ever. And I had this thought that, what if I lose it all? And all of a sudden, the anxiety came back, even though I was more successful than ever. So, we think that money's going to fix our problem, but that's not it. And, or we try to go and build our mindset. But I found that this really isn't a mindset issue, because most of the people that are, listening to your program have really solid, good mindsets, right? That's why they're entrepreneurs. That's why they're achievers. That's why they're influencers. That's why they're business owners, because they have a great mindset. What I found that the biggest issue isn't a mindset issue. It's an unconscious beliefs issue. It's faulty programming that we picked up in childhood that's actually the culprit, that's actually sabotaging our inner peace. And so I figured out a way to upgrade it.
All right. So before we talk about the way to upgrade it, let's dive into exactly what that faulty programming is, especially the one given to us in childhood.
Yeah. So we all have these worries and fears that we're going to be humiliated or rejected. We have the fear of failure. Some people say they have the fear of success, which means that you're going to be so successful that for some reason people are going to, abandon you, or you're going to lose love, right? It all comes down, though, to this core belief that I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And because I'm not enough, I won't be loved. A lot of marketers end up quitting because they're afraid that they can't get their funnels to convert, or they can't get themselves to keep staying motivated, and that there must be something wrong with them. And, and sometimes it's skills, but most of the time it's that fear that I'm not going to be good enough, smart enough, talented enough. I'm going to run out of money. I'm going to run out of time. And it always keeps coming back to this fear of not being enough. And if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, then I don't even matter. And so that's where it comes from.
I want to explore that a little bit. If I'm not enough is a core belief that's instilled in us, why is it instilled in us, and from where?
So if you have been living in this world, you will notice that there is all kinds of sin. There is all kinds of insecurity. And this insecurity causes us to have fear. And that fear causes us to either hold back and feel like we're less than, right? It causes us to become people pleasers. It causes us to chase approval. It causes us to sell out because we think that that's what we're supposed to do in order to get that connection that we're looking for. Or it will cause us to go the other way, where we come from a place of greed or selfishness, or we're just going to take it. However we're going to take it, I'm going to get mine, right? And so you see people walking over others to try to get what they want. The world is full of wounded people, and these generational wounds that we just keep passing down to each other. And so it really isn't until this last generation or two where we've been treating kids differently and recognizing that they're not just small adults, that they're human beings, and we need love, and we need to be lifted up, and we don't need to be constantly told what we're doing wrong and corrected. The spare the rod, spoil the child kind of idea, where it's okay to just beat your children into submission. These were old ideas that were accepted, and now we're realizing how much damage that's caused. Of course, now we're going the other way. I'm talking to people and they're like, my 4-year-old has anxiety. I'm like, your 4-year-old should not have anxiety. Okay. We're living in the age of anxiety now. Everybody has anxiety, and we're making the same mistakes. Instead of going to pharmaceuticals, we're going to weed. We're going to vaping. We're going to all these other drugs that are not going to change unconscious beliefs. So they come from our parents and from our environment.
Oh, this is so good. 4-year-olds having anxiety, dogs having anxiety, all of it.
Right? They're getting that from their owners.
Yeah, exactly. They are. The only animals that display that type of behavior are animals that are close to humans, right? But one of the things that you said that stood out to me was the root of a lot of what you're talking about is fear, right? Like living in fear, whether it's greed, whether it's just fear itself of loss or whatever, it's fear. And so I think, Tim, you tell me what you think, right? Because you know this way better than me. I feel like it's much easier and almost more comfortable, as weird as it sounds, to live in fear. Like that's the devil that you know. The scary thing, and Dimitri and I have talked about it, is to live in joy. There's a quote talking about joy being the most vulnerable emotion of all. So how do you step from fear into some vulnerability of joy and abundance? That seems hard to do.
An excellent observation. You're exactly right. Sometimes it feels safer. A lot of times people don't move because they have this belief that it could get worse. And so they already are aware of the pain that they're in, and they have this fantasy that it could somehow get worse. And we don't want worse. Our brain is pain avoidant. We're always trying to avoid pain and create more pleasure. And if we think that somehow changing could make things worse, like I want to grow my business, but if I spend this $5,000 and I hire the wrong marketing agency, then I'm going to be $5,000 broker. I'm going to be worse off than I am right now. Instead of recognizing if you don't invest in your business, there's no way you're going to get to the next level of success. So we do wrestle with that fear, right? We wrestle with that. So for me, fear, FEAR, stood for F everything and run. Right. So that's what it was for me. It was get me out of this situation because I don't like the feeling. A lot of times we're afraid of the feeling itself. I don't like feeling nervous. I don't like feeling jacked up like this. I don't like this, the physical symptoms that I'm getting that are making me feel this way. Now, when you're feeling joy, nobody is feeling joy and saying, wow, this sucks. When people are feeling joy, they really love it. Joy makes you feel lighter. Joy makes you feel connected with yourself or connected with your creator or connected with your loved ones. Joy fills you inside. Sometimes people say, how do you know what's self-destructive and what's truth, right? How does it make you feel, right? Fear will make you feel heavy. It'll make you feel scared, and it'll ask you, what if this bad thing happens? Joy will make you feel lighter. And it will help you to ask, well, what if it goes well, though? What if it goes great, right? So, a lot of times the quality of your life is being determined by the quality of the questions you walk around asking yourself all day long. And most people are asking, what if it goes wrong? What if it falls apart? What if I don't know what to do? And that's where, it just increases that fear. So I think that when you upgrade those beliefs, and you recognize that you can shift fear, FEAR, into feeling excited and ready, right? Finding excuses and reasons to win. When you shift it, you realize it's the same adrenaline and you can use it to create. You're a reflection of the perfection, right? Your creator made you, you're a creator. When you create, you're going to find joy. But the fear holds us back and keeps us playing. I call it playing not to lose. Right? How do I not get hurt? How do I not get embarrassed? How do I not look like a fool? Right? But ultimately, when you play to win, you're not feeling bad when you're winning. Right? So you're only feeling bad when you're not.
I have to ask a question here. And I don't want to get too off the track here, but whatever. You said being connected to your creator. And then once you're connected there, you create and you bring joy. Yes. Will you tell me a little bit more about that, please?
Yes. So I believe that God created us in his image and he's a creator, right? So we're a creator. So, and even in the Bible, it says, if you can't do it on your own, lean on God and all things are possible through him. And we put these limits on ourselves. So Dimitri, you mentioned the movie Zero Limits. It's based on a book that Joe Vitale wrote. And then Joe and I wrote a book together called One Belief Away. And so the idea is that we have these zero limits, but we put a bunch of limits on ourselves, right? And the limit, and I call them unconscious beliefs that I'm not good enough, that I will be rejected, that I won't be loved, right? That I'll get hurt, that you can't trust people, all these fears that we have. That's what impostor syndrome is, right? That's what procrastination is. That's what self-sabotage is, right? It's these beliefs that make us feel like we're not enough. So when we can lean, Bob Proctor, I'm a big fan of Bob Proctor. We know he just passed away. And I had him on my show before and had him work with him in the past. And he said that, there's a book on my desk called Think and Grow Rich. And it was the only book on my desk. And I had it on there for 40 years and it made me successful. And I thought, that's amazing. That's really, really good. But I have a book on my desk and I don't mean to get preachy here, but it's the Bible, right? I got one book on mine, and once you upgrade your beliefs, the only other way to feel extreme peace in this world is to have a connection, with a higher power than yourself, whatever you may call that. And I find that is where your greatest sense of peace can come from. Amen.
Yeah, amen. And I think we just found ourselves in the exact type of conversation Chris and I love to get into, especially
Yep.
when we're seeing each other in person and like really getting into something. So Tim, this is really exciting for us. Okay, so I guess I'm trying to put myself not just in my shoes, but in the shoes of all the people that have imposter syndrome. Like, okay, I got to change my beliefs. I believe that good things will happen to me. And then the pushback I'm getting within me is, well, okay, like I'll believe that, but then let's say things do continue to go wrong. And you mentioned that, but like, what do you do then? Like, how do you keep the belief?
Yeah, this is what caused me to figure this all out, because a lot of times I was told, in the beginning, to create vision boards and to say affirmations to yourself. And I would be like, I'm a millionaire and money comes flowing into my life from all directions and it is good. And then I open my wallet and there's $5 in there, and I'm like, this is crap. I'm lying to myself. This is not what's happening. And I'm going to run out. My biggest fear is I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out of money. I'm going to run out of time. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to live in a van down by the river. My wife's going to leave me. My kids are going to think I'm a loser, right? All the rest of my hair is going to fall out. And I would just work myself up into a panic, usually, at 3 a.m. instead of sleeping. And so, and a lot of us do this because we are in this battle. We're in this battle with who we believe we are versus what's happening in our world. And what I found is that for most people, when they're working on their mindset, when they're working on their attitude, it's like cutting the top off of a weed. They're not getting to the root of the biggest fear, right? So they're cutting the top off of a weed, and then or they're throwing motivation on top of the weeds, like throwing dirt on top of the weeds. So I'm watching more YouTube videos. I'm watching people say, just do it, just do it. This hustle culture that we're in, taking a break is weakness. You should work even on vacations, right? You should just keep drinking energy drinks and go, 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 right? Which might work when you're 20, 25. But when you get older, that kind of hustle culture will put you in the hospital. So it'll burn you out real fast. Or you'll end up, having some money, but you're divorced and your kids don't talk to you. So it's not worth it. So there's another way. So what I found is that if you go deep enough and you find that core belief, and I got a couple strategies that I'm definitely going to share with you for how to do that today, right? So this isn't just this is what you should do. I'm going to teach you how to do it, right? So when we upgrade those core beliefs, we pull the weed out at the root and we replace it with a flower, a more empowering belief. Then all of a sudden, the way you're playing the game changes. So you feel like I literally was playing a game with God on, let's see how low my bank account can go, and I still feel peaceful. And I got to where it was negative, and I was still peaceful. Where it was like no money in the bank, and I'm still got faith, and I'm still peaceful, and I'm still connecting with my wife, and I'm still planting those prosperity seeds and taking action because I know that everything works out for me in the end. If it hasn't worked out yet, it just means it isn't the end. And I stay in that zone, and all of a sudden a client shows up, then 3 more clients show up, and now all of a sudden, I got money in the bank again. And then I take that money and I think, what can I do to expand my team? What can I do to build my systems, right? So it's not constantly feast or famine. And so when you feel like it's not working for you, it's not because you're broken. It's not because it's not ever going to work out for you. It's because you probably have some beliefs in there or some blind spots that you're not seeing, which is why it's so important to have other people around you to be able to help you instead of you doing it as a one-person show, because you can't see your own blind spots.
Oh man, I love that. Oh, so much. This joy that you have in beliefs and faith, regardless of the external factors, this peace, to get that is hard to find. I'm gonna butcher a question that Dimitri's been asking a lot of people that we know. What he's asking, Tim, is like, what is your number? And if you have a number, then what's the point? Like, what we find, and I butchered your question, Dimitri, but I hope you get the essence of it, Tim, is like, what is the goal? What's the purpose? Why? And what we find is in our circles, whatever that goal is, that goalpost just keeps moving. You get there, then it moves again. You get there, and it moves again. And so when it comes to this achiever syndrome and not feeling like we're good enough, like, why does that happen, and how do we combat that?
So you're exactly right that it is a moving target. I want to be a millionaire. Why? Why do you need $1 million? Well, I want to be able to fly wherever I want and eat whatever I want. And, people say the same kind of answers. They just are looking for either real security. They think if I have enough money and I can pay my bills and not have to worry about it, I can finally relax. Or they're looking for that sense of joy that, look, I said I could do something and I did. I'm not the failure that you think I am. I'm not the piece of crap that you think I am. I'm not the person that you said would never amount to anything. See, I am somebody, and we're trying to prove it through our works. And when you're doing that, it doesn't matter what you prove because it will never be enough, right? So you make $1 million, then you want 2 million, right? And it's just, it's constantly like that. So what we do is we decide to change the inner game. And we shift that from, instead of chasing approval, because whatever you chase, it runs, right? So we chase approval, we chase success, we chase money, whatever we're chasing. So instead, we have to give it to ourselves. We have to attract it like bugs to a light. We have to draw it to us. We've got to give ourselves what we need: the love, the validation, the self-acceptance, the appreciation. We got to compliment ourselves. Most people become perfectionists and control freaks, and we're so hard on ourselves that if anybody else heard how you talk to yourself, they'd be like, dude, you take it down a notch. You need to be more nice, right? Because we're tearing ourselves apart. Even if on the outside, our life looks pretty nice, right? So we become our own worst enemy. And when we adjust that, when we change that, when we start being loving, when we start feeling more joyful, and all this happens by upgrading your unconscious beliefs, right? That is how you do it. And when you upgrade those beliefs, you have a new foundation to come from, where you recognize that I'm already enough. I've already won. Me being me, you being you, Chris, you being you, Dimitri, you guys have already won. Everything else you do is just a bonus round, right? You guys are amazing. You have each other as friends. I'm sure you have a wonderful life. You have the show. You're reaching lots of people. You're doing something that adds value to the world. You've already won. So if we come from that standpoint that we're adding value, we're here to create, we're going to look at our life and we're going to be a wisdom collector. We're going to go through these experiences to gain feedback and to gain wisdom. And you can get feedback from anything. There is no failure. There's just feedback. And as you get feedback, you learn, you grow, you partner up with new people, you get new pieces of the puzzle, you put them together. And finally, 20% of the 80% or the 100% of the things you do works. It makes up for all the rest. You win, and then you get, now you have more wisdom, and then the cycle repeats, but you're doing it from a place of joy and creativity and from fun, and so that you're not getting through the day, you're getting from each day.
Okay, so let's say I am ready right now to upgrade my mental software. I want to put away the belief that I'm not enough, and I want to put in the new belief that I've already won. But now my practical brain is saying, well, I mean, it's not that simple, is it? I mean, is there a daily practice? Give us what we need to do next.
Okay, so this is what it looks like when someone works with me, right? So we go through session 1, and session 1 is called the awakening, right? I've perfected these experiences that I take people through, because whatever belief you got, you went through an experience, but you are the experiencer. You're more powerful than any experience you've ever had. Just like you are not your thoughts, you're the thinker of your thoughts. So you're more powerful than any thoughts you have, and you can redirect them anytime you want. So there was a guy that came to me one time, and he had a really strong business, 6-figure business. He was doing well, but he could not get to the next level. And he was really stressed out because he had been trying for a long time. And he said that he didn't know what kept him stuck, but he just felt like as soon as he would get really close, it would just fall apart. and they'd build it up and it'd fall apart like Sisyphus rolling that rock up the hill, and it would roll back down. And so we went through the awakening where we go and we find that parking brake that's stuck in our brain that we don't even know is there, right? And we go back to a time when he's 6 years old and he's sitting there with his dad on the ground. His dad's working on a car. His dad's underneath the car, and he asks his 6-year-old son, he says, "Get me a Phillips screwdriver." Well, this kid is 6 and just hands his dad a screwdriver because he don't know there's different kinds. And the dad looks at the screwdriver, and probably because he's just frustrated, he says, "You moron, this is the wrong one. You never get anything right." Okay. Well, that 6-year-old doesn't go, "Well, father is having a bad day. You know, his car's broken down. He's probably fighting with mom. He's not taking this out on me as a personal attack. He's just having a hard time." That's not what 6's brain does. 6's brain, and all of our brains, is always trying to make meaning out of everything. So here's dad, the authority figure. Dad yells, now I'm scared. I'm like put in this hypnotic trance. And then he gives me a direct suggestion that I can't ever figure it out. So now I got this belief when I'm 6 years old in the back of my mind that says no matter how hard I try, I can't figure things out. Now I'm 45 years old. I've created success, but I can't get to the next level because that doesn't match with my inner beliefs. If I have a belief that I can't ever quite figure it out, then I'll never be able to quite figure it out because that matches my reality. So what I did was I helped him go back to that moment in time where the belief was formed. And we were able to go right to it because your subconscious mind will take you right to these formative times if you just ask the right questions. So we went right to it in the first session, not after 2 years of therapy. So in the first 15 minutes, we're right there. Then we're able to look at that situation from the adult's point of view, from his point of view as an adult, because he has new wisdom, he has new resources, he has new power that he did not have when he was 6. So he's not looking at it from a child's point of view. He's looking at it from a successful adult's point of view. He starts to reframe that around. And then he starts to figure out what was the old belief, right? And the old belief is that I'm not good enough. You know, dad doesn't think I'm good enough, so I must not be good enough. Then we said, what do you want to believe instead? Well, I want to believe that I'm competent, that I'm successful, that I'm worthy of success, that I can do whatever I put my mind to. And then we fill him with love and we fill him with a sense of peace so that not only does he have a new belief, Dimitri, but he feels it. Because that's what you're saying. You're saying, how do you resolve the conflict of me telling this, but I don't believe it, right? You create a new experience, a new reference, a foundation to build from. So it's like putting on a new pair of glasses. Now you see things differently. You talk about it differently. You look at the situation differently. You feel differently. You make new decisions. You get new feedback, and that creates new results. So it is that easy if you upgrade the beliefs first. Now that's just step one, but that's what we started to do. And this guy took off because he wasn't second guessing. He wasn't sabotaging. He didn't feel like an imposter. He started leading in. He created more lifetime value. He had other upsells. He had other ways to be able to reach out and connect with people instead of just one time and that's it. And that's what took his business to the next level.
Oh, wow. That's so good. There's a lot to unpack in there. You said we're not the thoughts, we're the thinker of our thoughts. Is that what you said? That is so powerful. So powerful. So my question to you then is, we're not the thoughts, we're the thinker of the thoughts. And so we can have a thought can happen and we could be like, that thought can be empowering. Like, hey, I am divine. I can create. I am this. We can believe that and become that. We can have a thought of the exact opposite. I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out. And we believe that. We go down the rabbit hole. You might have already answered it, but how do you coach people to step back and identify their thoughts and then know which ones to believe and which ones to let pass or let go?
By how it makes you feel. So when you have a belief that comes from love, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel more relaxed. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel more productive. You're going to feel like taking action. And when you have a belief that comes from fear, you're going to feel heavy. You're going to feel tight. You're going to feel scared. You're going to feel angry. You're going to procrastinate and you're going to hold back. So if you want to figure out, what belief is true or not, how does it make you feel? The truth they say the truth will set you free because it makes you lighter. The truth will make you lighter. But most of us are not filled with truth. We're filled with fear.
I wanted to note that I've already got a 3/4 page of notes, and if you want these notes, go ahead and click the link in our description because we're giving you these notes. Sign up for that newsletter. It's got notes for every episode. I think they're really good for summarizing the shows and then coming back to these things. I'm going to come back to these notes several times because this is one of those things where it's the incremental gains versus the quantum gains. And I think most of us, and including myself, oftentimes focus on those incremental gains, whereas a subconscious breakthrough like this could be exponential or even more than exponential. And so, Tim, I think the question I want to ask you here is I guess I want to dig more into the practices people can do, marketers who don't see the progress they want to get to yet. What can they do on a daily basis to enforce this and believe it?
First, you write on a Post-it note, what would I have to believe to feel this way? What would I have to believe to feel this way? And I want you to think of yourself not just as a marketer, but as a belief hunter, right? You're a belief hunter. So your goal is to grow. Your marketing, your business, your journey of making money and creating financial freedom is all an excuse for you to grow and become the best version of you. That is your ultimate goal, right? So how you're doing it, doing it through a business or through marketing is the route. Okay, that's the road for you. And so as you go through, you're constantly trying to identify the beliefs. So if you have a belief that you're stuck, if you have a belief that no matter what you like your Midas and everything turns to gold, if you have a belief that testing and getting feedback is the path to success, if you have a belief that success takes forever and it has to be painful, these are all going to be your experiences, but they don't have to be. It's just what you're labeling. And people will say, well, that's how it has been. Well, maybe that's because of the beliefs that were there all along. And just because it has been doesn't mean it has to be moving forward. So if you're feeling stuck, which I felt stuck a million times, then what you do is you remind yourself that, all right, well, what would I have to believe to feel this way right now? And then you might think, well, I have to believe that it's not going to work out, or I'm going to lose money, or that, I'm going to end up feeling like a loser, and I don't want to feel that feeling. Okay, well, what would you rather believe instead? Well, I'd rather believe that I'm learning, that I'm growing, I'm getting better, and all this wisdom that I'm collecting is allowing me to become me 2.0. It's allowing me to grow into the person that I was born to be, and this is the journey. Like if you want to climb a tall mountain, you're going to get banged up to learning how to do it. You might even fall off the mountain a few times, but if you keep learning, you keep growing, and you use your money to collapse time frames. Spend money to gain the tools and build your team. Most people are trying to save that money because they're afraid of losing. That's how you lose, right? So the successful people I know, they are always using their money to save time, and everybody else is wasting time to save money, right? But the super successful people are spending that money and investing, and they don't ever think of it as a loss. They think of it as I gained something from it, and it's my responsibility. No one's going to come in and save me, right? It's my responsibility to get something from it. So if you start with the beliefs, what would I have to believe to feel this way if you're feeling stuck? And then how do I want to feel instead? I want to believe that it's going to work out, and that I got to make bold moves, and then I got to figure out what is the exact problem that I'm having right now, and who knows how to solve that, and how do I get that wisdom from them? Who knows how to solve that specific problem, and how do I get that wisdom from them? And then I have the confidence to go make the move, right? And reach out and get that help any way that you can. And then you get that piece of the puzzle, and you just keep collecting pieces of the puzzle until eventually you put it together and you're like, oh, there it is.
Chris, I wanted to ask you because, Chris and I both run marketing agencies, and I was wondering if you're seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, is the clients that actually work out and we grow together, the ones that are willing to give it a shot and spend, and then you have the ones that are afraid of like, oh man, this last $5,000, I don't know if I can lose it. They're scared. They're calling you every minute, and it never works out. And it seems like that's exactly what Tim's talking about.
1,000%. You read my mind.
Yeah. It's you can't just play defense. If you're on a football team, you can't win with defense. You have to play offense. You have to throw the ball. What if it gets intercepted? What if I throw it out of bounds? What if I get sacked? Throw the ball, because that's the only way you can score.
That principle you're talking about going on the offense and making things happen, and investing in yourself, spending money to save time. If I know, Dimitri, I'm not trying to toot our horns. There's not much to toot, but if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have this show. We wouldn't be talking to you, Tim. Dimitri and I wouldn't be friends. We met because we invested in something at an event to upgrade our skills, to go meet people. All of a sudden, if you told me 5 years ago I'd be on a podcast with two amazing men right now, just having goosebumps, I'd been like, shut the hell up. There's no way. There's so much truth behind what you said. And then there's one more thing. I know we're kind of getting up against time, but one of my favorite quotes, Tim, is a problem cannot be solved at the level of consciousness that created it. Shout out to Einstein. And so what I've seen in my own personal journey is I would go to all the conferences that I was talking about, read all the books, watch all the YouTubes, all the tips and tactics, all the self-development. Let me learn, become addicted to learning. But to your point, there was something else that was blocking. I could do all the learning I want, but there was something else that was blocking. And when I started addressing the level of consciousness, specifically this last year, all of a sudden things just start flowing and flowing and flowing. So can you expand more on, there's marketers out there who are watching this right now, looking for the tips and tactics and stuff and reading the books and going to the conferences, right. But you might have hit on it, but can you hit on again about addressing that block, addressing that level of consciousness and the importance of that, please?
It is so important. So imagine that you've got this super powerful laptop, right? You want that laptop lifestyle, and your whole business is on your computer, and then you download some malware. Now the computer is fine. It works great, but you downloaded some malware and now it's not allowing your programs to function as they're designed to. So what do? Throw away the computer, yell at it, belittle it, tell it that it's never going to work out? No, you get rid of the malware. And then all of a sudden the programs are, that's what we download updates on our phones all the time. But most people are walking around with the same MS-DOS program they were born with. And so we're looking outside of ourselves for knowledge and tools, but we're not upgrading our human software, and upgrading the beliefs. And I think that people get frustrated because they're like, Tim, it is not a mindset issue. Okay. I get more done in a week than most people get done in a month. Right. And I say, you're right. It's not a mindset issue. It's deeper than that. It's an unconscious beliefs issue. Every time someone tells me that that's not the case, it ends up being the case. They're unconscious beliefs, which means it's out of your awareness. So, Carl Jung, famous psychologist, once said that the goal in life is to make the unconscious conscious. Otherwise, it will control you and you will call it fate.
Tim, you kind of touched on it a couple of times with when you were negative in your bank account. But one of the segments we love to do on the show is the Man in the Arena segment, where in this case, it's actually probably one of the most applicable cases where we're all in the arena of life in this mental, unconscious programming that we have, and we're trying to fight through it. So I was wondering if you could give us a specific example that was maybe emotional for you, because I know we're talking about you have to fill the belief with emotion. So I'm wondering if there's a certain emotional belief that you had, and then how are you able to emotionally change it for you in your life?
So, well, I've had a lot of setbacks. My friend Willie Jolly always says a setback is a setup for a comeback, right? So I've had plenty of setbacks and challenges in life. And so, my first thought was, you want me to talk about some of my failures? Which one? Because there's a lot of them. But again, it's not failure, it's feedback. And if I didn't go through that and collect that wisdom, then I wouldn't be who I am today, right? So people are like, how do I get rid of the problems? You don't, because the problems are what create growth. If you remember when the video game Pac-Man, and you're trying to get the pellets, right? And the ghosts in there are trying to stop you. What if we remove the ghosts from the game? It'd be no point playing it, right? But the ghosts are the problem. They're the obstacles. Yeah, but if you don't have them, what's the point of playing the game? Right? So all of a sudden, when you look at problems, you realize these are opportunities in disguise. They force you to grow. So, when I was 12 years old, I lived in a small town in Indiana, and my dad was an electrician in a steel mill. And I answered the phone, and there was a woman, and she's like, honey, find your dad. There's been an accident. He was working on a big electrical panel, and while he was in there with the screwdriver and his buddy Bob was in there with the flashlight, someone turned it on and it exploded. And caught him and Bill on fire, burned him real bad. And, he survived. He had a lot of scars on the outside. I had a lot of scars on the inside. In my mind, my brain said that something bad could happen at any time, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm basically just unsafe. And so now I have this fire alarm going off in my brain all the time, telling me danger, danger. Even when there is no danger, that fire alarm is always going off, because you never know when the rug's going to be yanked out from underneath you. So now I'm running a business and I'm building funnels and I'm going to, all these different events from all these well-known marketers doing the same thing, building up my skill sets, trying things out, feeling like it's not working, the whole time having this underlying stress and anxiety that at any moment it's all going to fall apart. And it was not until I started getting into my head, slowing down, because we don't like to slow down. We like to go faster and stay busy because it makes us feel safe. And so that's why we love momentum. I don't care about happy or sad. Am I making progress? Am I got money in my bank account? And so it's a strategy to help us feel safe. And when I force myself to slow down, go within and upgrade those beliefs, I discovered that, I was constantly trying to run away from being hurt and being angry at myself for being scared all the time. So I was very hard on myself. And I had to learn to give that little kid a hug and love him and make him feel safe and protected instead of being so angry at him. And when I did that, I started feeling safer inside. Then, instead of feeling so anxious, I was able to feel more relaxed and calm. And guess what? I made better decisions. I hired smarter people. I took chances without feeling like I was going to have a heart attack. I was actually excited about the investment. Even if it was the only $5,000 I had, heck yeah, I'm doing it because this is how I'm going to win. This is how I'm going to meet the next person. I'm going to get the next piece of the puzzle. And so I could do it from a place of joy. And then if you believe anything in the law of attraction, when you're coming from joy, you attract more joy. When you come from fear, you attract more fear and more things to be upset about. And so when I upgraded my beliefs and I started coming from joy and I started understanding what this game was really about, that's what allowed me to start playing to win. Right. And that's why I tell people you're just one belief away from your next big breakthrough. And if you want to have a breakthrough today, find the places where you've been resisting going and go there on purpose, because your biggest breakthroughs are hiding in the places you don't want to go.
Hot damn, this has been a good episode. I think that, man, for those who are listening, Demetri and I have done several episodes, and I think that if to rewatch this, which I'm going to go watch it myself, this is the type of stuff this is what gets to the next level. Like Demetri was saying, you want that exponential game, that quantum game. This is where it's at, and I don't think that, at least in my experience, it's hard to find people who are willing to discuss this and even more so work on it or do the work. And so this has been phenomenal, Tim. Where can people go to learn more about you and what you're doing?
Well, write to your show notes because you'll put the link in there for how to get a hold of me and get some of my free training materials. So make sure you go and get those show notes because that's going to help you a lot. And then you can go, if you need some private coaching for your head stuff, then you can go to Indy, INDY, it's short for Indianapolis, indyhypnosis.com, and you can connect with me there. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, this is first of all, upgrading your mental software seems like it's one of those things that can kill two birds with one stone, or maybe 5 or 10 birds, because by changing those beliefs, not that you just get better at work or business, you can get better at every single aspect in your life, your family life, your marriage, your kid, your, as a parent, as a whatever, all of it. So I think it makes sense to do it. And it makes sense to do it with a professional who's built a framework. So if you're looking for someone with a framework, I think Tim Shurr is kind of the perfect person to do it. And we will have that link in the description. We'll have it in the notes. It's practiceamplifier.com/training, vault, opt-in. We have the whole link. So don't worry about, typing it into your browser. Just click the link. And by the way, this is probably, I don't know what, hundreds of thousands of dollars of trainings that over the course of decades. And he's giving it away for free for our listeners. So all you have to do is just sign up on his website, get his framework. Why not just skip all the having to YouTube 100 different videos to find the one you like? I think Tim's got exactly what you need. So check that out, Tim. This really was an incredible show, and exactly I think what Chris and I needed, and I think what anybody listening to this, quite frankly, needs all the time. And this is a must re-listen, like Chris said.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing. This is kind of out of the box a lot of times for most people with a marketing show to be talking about issues like this, and for you to have me on and to go right to it speaks volumes about the quality of your character and the value that you're bringing to the world. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited for the next conversation we have down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tim.
As well. Everybody who's listening to this, go ahead and click subscribe to it. If you have any comments, go back to that part of the video, leave a comment. We love talking to you guys in the comments. Again, subscribe to those notes. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Chris. Peace.
Peace.